Welcome to the Backyard Professor Responds videos. Are you guys ready for this one? Because I am gonna uncork it tonight for you. We have a fabulous program coming up right now. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Please hit the like and subscribe, turn your notification buttons on, and share this video with people whom you think would be interested in understanding more about orbs, UFOs, and how do I put this? The ancient spirituality and quests for the truth because of Robert Temple's new book, A New Science of Heaven. Brand new. Just out last year. I'm in ontological shock. I even couldn't sleep last night. I stayed up half the night reading it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. But one of the chapters that particularly struck me like thunder was chapter 6, When Heaven Was Young. That's the one I will elaborate on tonight, among others in future videos, because in a nutshell, plasma is the new reality of the universe, not atoms, not atoms. Material has been or is being replaced by plasmoids, plasma. The science behind this is impeccably incredible. I am stunned at the power of this book. In essence, the orbs we are seeing in the sky, the flashing different colored orbs and the movements, the strange movement toward us in a way, etc., are UFOs. And they are intelligent beings. Now, I just watched a video drop from Matt Beal, brand new interview with Chris Bledsoe. I will try to get to that tomorrow. I'm going to spend all night tonight on this chapter, as you're about to see. And he says that the orbs can transform into intelligent light beings. Plasma is intelligent. And that is Robert Temple's conclusions, backed with a wallop cadre of scientists in plasma physics. It is a staggering picture and a most unique explanation of the UFOs and the understanding of the ancient antiquity cultures is what I'm going to share tonight from this chapter. Let's get started. Humans in a state of meditation or reverie have encountered glowing balls of fire of divine nature. And this is recorded all throughout the ancient literatures. Now, they don't call them orbs. Some do. Some will call them angels, deity, God, Jesus, Mithras. It doesn't matter what the name, Isis, etc. It matters the status. It was a light theology called Gnosticism. I've heard it called Gnosticism. I call it Gnosticism. There were many schools and churches of Gnosticism in early Christianity in Jesus's day, before Jesus's day, during Jesus's day, and after by many hundreds of years. In fact, it had to go underground. It never was really destroyed. 1945, the Nag Hammadi codices were discovered out in a farmer's field that had been hidden, thankfully. I would love to meet that ancient person who hid those codices and shake their hand. Because of the Orthodox Church and the manner of stamping out all knowledge that they did not approve of, The same stupid attitude prevails today with new scientific discoveries from the established orders of governments and their departments, which has gotten to the point of utterly ludicrous. They are keeping us in the dark, but the good news is we have access to the light through the light orbs, who are apparently divine beings, which we will share tonight. The Gnostics believe that an elect group of people of spiritual inclinations who pursued sacred knowledge would constitute the section of the human population who would survive the vicissitudes of the corrupt world of physical matter, and after their physical deaths, they would enter a kingdom of light. We will dwell on this extensively tonight. Various different deities, the Father, the Mother, the Son, Jesus, whoever they were, whatever they were called, dwelt in this kingdom of the Father, kingdom of light. Those who became knowledgeable, who gained gnosis, were called the children of light. And we have that in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the very famous dichotomy, which I will touch upon tonight, with the children of light versus the children of darkness, the sons of light and the sons of darkness. The light emitted by the Father, as described in some Gnostic texts, was stronger than 10,000 times 10,000 suns. Now, we like to probably think that's probably an ancient exaggeration. It is not. It is an understatement. I will strongly insist, you simply must get this book, A New Science of Heaven by Robert Temple, the author of The Serious Mystery, of which I am also discoursing on, in relation to UFOs. This absolutely has complete relevance for our day right now here, even though we look back into history to give us a context. Because the plasma universe is 99% of all that is. And it is an intelligent light, according to the new plasma physics. Like I say, I am in ontological shock from this book. The Father had no physical body, but was essentially what might perhaps be called a light ball or a plasma ball. Those who were saved would themselves put on vestures of light, that's how they described it, and became mini plasma balls, and would live forever in a heavenly plasma world. Utterly fascinating. In the Pistis Sophia, one of the most famous of Gnostic texts, of which I have numerous translations behind me in my bookshelf, I have not consulted those translations for this because I am familiar with it enough, having read it many times, that this is good. Mary Magdalene, who was one of the main disciples of Jesus in the Gnostic texts and in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, let me just... This one. These four are really good texts on this subject. I'm not going to dwell on the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, but this is by Karen L. King. This absolutely pristine material. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Le Loup, that is a very excellent, easy to read overview. This one by Jane Schauberg, yes, that Jane Schauberg, Google her. The Resurrection of Mary Magdalene, big book, incredible information. Esther de Boer, The Gospel of Mary. 4 texts, all dealing with just one of those. And there's, of course, a lot more. There are various translations of the Pistis Sophia that I cannot find at the moment. Oh, yes, I can. I can find one of them, The Fall of Sophia. This is by Violet McDermott, The Fall of Sophia. Very interesting text. Good translation of the Gnostic material. The reason I'm making a big whoop-de-doo about this is for this reason. This is what the text says. Maria came forward. She worshipped at the feet of Jesus and said, "My Lord, be not angry with me that I questioned thee, for thou hast once said to us, seek and ye shall find." Notice they are seeking and asking questions, which is precisely how we can have our own experience with these light orbs in our skies right now, according to Chris Bledsoe, who does it nonstop. He's done so for 18 years. Very interesting. My Lord and my Savior, of what kind are the 24 invisible ones? And of what type? Or what form are they? Or of what form is their light? What form is their light? What an interesting question. Jesus answered, however, and said to Mary, "What is there in this world that resembles them? Or rather, what place is there in this world that is comparable to them? Truly, truly, I say to you, the 24 invisible ones are lighted 10,000 times more than the light of the sun." That is not an exaggeration. That is explicitly true, as you will find out when you read this book on the science of plasma. These ancient people knew the reality of the universe better than we do, because we got derailed by Sir Isaac Newton with the dead atomic stuff. And that's an outdated picture now. Most remarkable. Ontological shock, I'm telling you. So, as I've already said to you at another time, for the light of the sun in its true form is not in this place, because its light passeth through a multitude of veils of places, and this book proves Jesus knew whereof he spoke in this Gnostic text. This text is teaching a true science of plasma, which they identified as light. As this text was, you got to get this book. I just swear to goodness. This opened up a whole new dimension for me of the ancient world and our modern world all at once. Because its light passeth through a multitude of veils of places. But the light of the sun in its true form, which is in the place of the virgin of the light, is lighted 10,000 times more than the 24 invisible ones, and the great invisible forefather, and also the triple-powered God, as I have already said to you at another time. Now at this time, Maria, there is no kind in this world, nor light, nor form, which compares with the 24 invisible ones. But yet a little while, and I will take thee with thy brothers and fellow disciples to all of the places of the height. And you will look forth upon the whole world of mankind, and it will become the size of a speck of dust before you as a result of the great distance. In other words, he's going to take them on their ascension. And I'm going to use colloquial language, forgive me, but to give you the serious impression here, Jesus is going to take his disciples and Mary on an ascension in his UFO to the kingdom of the Father, which is a kingdom of light, which is the universe. I can't put it any stronger than that. These people knew something. That's why they had the gnosis, the knowledge. So, and it was strong in both Judaism and Christianity. Gnosticism was. The Jewish Gnostics had an esoteric and a secret reinterpretation of the Old Testament texts, maintaining that the book of Genesis was an allegory. And some extremely strange interpretations are put forward in their writings, which they are. For instance, they maintain that Noah did not really build an ark at all, but that he hid inside a glowing light cloud, which we would call a plasmoid. Bledsoe says living beings come out of the orbs. He has seen it. He claims he has videos of it. So this is really interesting. Well, the Gnostic texts, they're full of descriptions of plasma and plasmoids, often in surprising detail. And this is what I'm going to uncork for you tonight from the ancient texts. I have dozens of them scattered all over my library, open to where I want to read tonight. When gathered together from the many texts that we now have, vastly enlarged by the discovery of the Nag Hammadi text in 1945, edited, annotated, and translated texts, a whole world of plasma entities is revealed. Now, I have never before, I knew about some of the light beings, but the plasma entities, this is staggering. Gnosticism conceived of an entire plasma universe, which today's current physicists and scientists, the plasma physics, contends that 99.9% of our universe is plasma. It is not physical matter. Get the book. So it seems that ancient seers were able to perceive clearly what we are only now able to demonstrate scientifically and recreate in our advanced modern laboratories. Now, Manichaeanism, that was the religion founded by the ancient prophet Mani, who lived just shortly post Jesus's day. This once stretched from Europe to China. It almost became the world religion, though it is now vanished, and that's not true. It has not vanished. Manichaeanism still exists in some quarters. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong, either in Iran or Iraq. The Manichaeans still exist, so he's wrong in that regard. So it was considered a light religion, and it was, describing plasma phenomenon. Its origins lay partly in the earlier Gnosticism, with Gnosticism itself survived as a mass movement until the extermination of the Cathars in southern France during the Middle Ages and the fading away of the Bogomils of Bulgaria and the Messalians of Slavic Europe at some unknown time, apparently by the 16th century. Allow me to grab a text. This is one of the most scholarly Gnostic Manichaean texts I have ever read. It's by Klimkeit, Hans Joachim Klimkeit. It's called Gnosis on the Silk Road, Gnostic Texts from Central Asia. And I want to just read one selection. The book has over 50 texts it examines in 400 pages. Absolutely staggering information. Let me just read this. Yet the realm of light, I'm on page 16. Yet the realm of light strives on to save the divine soul. Jesus, who brought Adam gnosis, remains an active savior up to the present, continuing to bring man redeeming knowledge. Other redeeming deities emanate from him. The Mandaean, the maiden of light, and the great nous. Now, nous is the Greek word for mind, intellect, etc. The three are often grouped together to form a triad of redeeming gods that corresponds within a frame of manifold analogies to another triad consisting of the third messenger, the 12 maidens, a specific representation of the maiden of light, and the column of glory. You remember pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night, leading the Israelites through the Sinai wilderness. Don't lose that image. So, speaking in terms of the cosmological myth now, Jesus is identified in so many of these Manichaean texts as the messenger of light. He resides in the sun. Get this book. These Gnostics knew what they were talking about. Mind-boggling. He resides in the sun, whereas the third messenger, interestingly enough, lives in the moon. So that's just one of many texts that I will talk about tonight and utilize. So that's the Manichaean texts. The most famous example of the intelligent glowing plasma in ancient Western religious literature is the burning bush of Moses, right? On the top of Mount Horeb in Sinai, right? Now, I didn't pull this. Hold on. I've got to grab this text. One of my favorite biblical scholars, Margaret Barker, the great lady restoring her story, she demonstrates conclusively getting back to the Hebrew text of Exodus that the burning bush is the great mother. It was not a male deity. It was the mother, the great lady. Astonishing. Because Chris Bledsoe says his ultimate revelation and vision of our future shortly coming to pass within the next, say, 2 years was given to him by the lady who he identifies as one of the members of the Trinity. God the Father, God the Mother, God the Son. This Trinity was the real Christian Trinity before the church councils got rid of the lady. Quite remarkable. The burning bush of Moses. Moses encountered this brilliantly shining and burning plasma, and he had conversations with it. So the plasma is intelligent. And one of the most startling discoveries of science now is because of the complexity of the electro and the magnetic aspects of plasma throughout the cosmos, is that it can develop intelligence. The plasma is intelligent. That is the scientific aspect this book is bringing out. I mean, curdle your hair, man. So it spoke to him. It was described as a burning bush that was, however, not consumed by its own flames, which is a brilliant description of the plasmoids today, right now. They're burning, they're light, they're bright, they flicker, they turn on and turn off, but they're not consumed by the light, the heat, the fire, the energy. They live in it. It was round and burning as if it were a bush. The voice was audible, according to the record. And the element is the bush-like burning apparition that did not consume itself, but continued to burn apparently without any fuel whatsoever, which is another characteristic of the plasmoids we are seeing right now here today in our own skies. But continued to burn without fuel. In other words, this seems to be a description of an encounter with a glowing plasma ball or a blazing plasmoid which spoke. Utterly fascinating. And then we turn to one of the most enigmatic, one of the most fascinating and important books in all of antiquity, with which Jews and Christians alike today, including the Mormons, really have begun to turn to, and that is the Book of Enoch. There are Greek Enoch texts, Hebrew Enoch texts, Slavonic Enoch texts. I've got copies in translation of all of them. It used to be one of my very favorite subjects. The encounter of the prophet Enoch with divine radiance, as recounted in the Book of Enoch, in which we must note the mention of an entity called the Great Glory. And this is in Odeberg's. I've got Odeberg's Third Enoch. Now, this is the later text. This is the Hebrew text of the Book of Enoch. And I will just read a small idea here on page 78. The whole mystery will reveal itself to mankind, man as the bearer of the divine spark within himself, his being here in this world of a lowly state, which is a huge concept in the Gnostic literatures as well. A mere youth and child by the side of the great powers and the principalities of the celestial world, and yet in his highest aspirations, by force of his being such a bearer of the divine glory, reaching above all powers to the presence of the divine glory. With this, the mystery of salvation, the man, the one who, as the essence of all human spirits and the first, the beginning of all human life in himself, brings about man's attainment of his spiritual home. The connection of this and with the wisdom mystery, the man celestial being possessing the secrets and mysteries, and in turn, once Enoch, who went to heaven, was translated to heaven, received those mysteries and that transformation into the light, he came back down and taught the people. His transformation. The reason I'm bringing that up is because the great glory is also reminiscent of the angel of the Lord, who is called the glory by the Samaritans. So here is a selection from the Book of Enoch. And the vision appeared to me thus: behold, in the vision clouds. Now, I want to say this while it just crossed my mind. One of the most remarkable aspects that convinced Diane Pasulka that these orbs, this idea of the UFOs, were had anciently and perhaps are in the Hebrew Bible, is because of the translation of clouds. In the medieval literature of some of the sacred seers and the various prophets and priestesses who had their heavenly visions and or ascensions to heaven, the actual texts say that they were speaking with orbs of light. And the translators of the texts did not like that. So they mistranslated the words into clouds. shining clouds, brilliant clouds, etc. So when we do a study of clouds in the Hebrew Old Testament and in the Greek New Testament, amazing surprises show up that have direct relevance to our UFOs today as the orbs. Just quite remarkable. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. In the vision clouds, which invited Enoch, so here we go. I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals and surrounded by a fiery flame, and it began to scare me, frighten me. And I went into the fiery flame. And you go, that's impossible. He would burn to death. Not if it was plasma, as he scientifically describes it. I get the book. This ancient description is mind-bogglingly accurate in the book of Enoch. And this dates, it's what they call in the group of literature the pseudepigrapha. Of course, Enoch did not write all of the Greek and the Hebrew and the Latin, the Slavonic Enoch texts that we have. No, he was an antediluvian patriarch. He lived way back there, right? These texts date to about 200 BC on, between 200 BC and 0, right, to 1 BC, something like that. But they are describing a reality which we are only discovering is actually possible with our experiences of these UFO orbs of light right now. So I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals and surrounded by a fiery flame. I went into the fiery flame, and a flaming fire surrounded the walls of the house, and its portal blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire. And lo, there was a second house, greater than the former, all the portals of which stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire, and its floor was fire, and above it were lightnings, and its ceiling also was a flaming fire. And I looked and saw therein a lofty throne as a shining sun, and from underneath the great throne came streams of flaming fire, so that it was impossible to look thereupon. And the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment, what he was wearing, his raiment, shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. A flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him. And until then I had had a veil on my face, and I was trembling. And we think the vision of Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel is amazing. This is mind-boggling stuff, because this is his experience with a plasmoid, a plasma being. Later, Enoch also relates, and they took me away to a place where there were forms like flaming fire, like forms like flaming fire. He is seeing different forms of plasma. And when they wished, they appeared as men. God. They took me to a place where there were forms like flaming fire. And when they wished, they had intelligence, they appeared as men. In other words, Enoch is describing higher beings who normally had the forms of plasmic entities, but who could appear and take on human form for interactions with humans. And that is exactly how Chris Bledsoe has described his interactions with the orbs. And he says we too can have this if you start out being humble and desire to have your own knowledge, disclosure of the UFOs, because the government ain't going to give it to us. But that shouldn't stop us. This is absolutely mind-boggling. Now, what Temple didn't do, and I mean, you know, you can only do so much, right? What he didn't do, oh, and that's the Apocalypse of Adam. I'll get to that in a minute. I have before you another book that is simply the most breathtaking, fulfilling, spiritually stupefying, enlarging intellectual book I have ever read on the Kabbalah. And I used to study Kabbalah extensively. Is this one by Leonore Leet, The Secret Doctrine of the Kabbalah, Rediscovering the Key to Hebraic Sacred Science. Leonore Leet. This book just, I've read it so much I've almost wore it out. I've lost the back cover. I've got scribbles in it. I've underlined. I've cross-referenced. I've written notes in the margin. I have read this book 10 times, and it never ceases to astonish me. It's one of the best descriptions and decodings of the Sefer Yetzirah in existence, and nobody pays attention to this woman. It's staggering. Here is what she says about Enoch. This is the point of the whole reason for existence. The angelic and I'm on page, what page am I on? 39. The angelic proclamation of Enoch's identification with the Son of Man sitting on the throne of glory indicates that the exalted object of his vision is his own higher self. This higher self may again have existed from the beginning as his own exclusive spiritual guide, or as the guide of all of the righteous, as their communal soul root. The ideal of Israel as the divine son, the consecrated firstborn, is born here. The priestly understanding of the laws of purification was always that such observance would endow man with a divine character. I am the Lord your God. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am holy, the Lord says in Leviticus 11:44. So in Enoch's vision, the divination of man as that son who is to sit on the throne of glory is most clearly stated to be the final transfiguration in the world to come of all the righteous who have followed the path of priestly gnosis. It is our own higher self that Ezekiel saw the Son of Man on the throne, as did Enoch in the Enoch texts. This is one of the most powerful spiritual doctrines of the entire Kabbalah. So I had to throw that in there because Temple did not. So here we go. Okay. Now, the Platonic philosopher Damascius, he lived 485 to 550 AD. He believed that the human spirit was a radiant body. It glowed. It radiated. It was a radiant body. And it was filled with the heavenly radiance. In other words, plasma. And Temple shows that the plasma that is out throughout the vast concourses of the universe is also filling us. But we can't see it because it's not material. It's plasma. But there is a plasma body, a higher self, our soul. Call it whatever you want. It has now become extremely plausible that this is a basic reality of the universe, and we are literally connected to the universe. We are the universe. We're plasma beings. Fabulous. So this is a glory that streams through its depths and lends it a divine strength. But in lower states, it loses its radiance, and this is a huge Gnostic theme with Ialdabaoth in the Gnostic materials. It is dirtied, it becomes darker and more material. I mean, this is the fall of the Pistis Sophia. This is the whole myth of the Pistis Sophia and the redemption of the cosmic savior deity. It's incredible. So the philosopher Philoponus of Alexandria, 490 to 570 AD. So this was about the time of the councils of the Christian church, right? This philosopher lived then. He believed that this spirit was a higher soul attached to the basic soul. And this is just what we read in the book of Enoch that dates to 200 BC. So this is old information of a plasma soul. This is fascinating. In other words, he believed, as did the ancient Egyptians, in more than one level of soul for each person. He wrote, there is moreover beyond the soul another kind of a body that is forever attached to the soul, which they call radiant or star-like, and it forever keeps its radiant body, which is of an everlasting nature. And this causes me to want to pull out my other text here. Now, this is a book called The Message of the Joseph Smith Papyri by Hugh Nibley, one of my former favorite LDS scholars. He was very good at what he did. This is a huge text. This is a very important hieroglyph I'm going to show you that he drew. It is the sun in heaven, and what it's doing in the Egyptian materials is it's sending its rays down upon the body in the tomb, thus preserving it from decay. This is what plasma does. It renews and stays afresh. That's the hieroglyphic. Here is the information. The most impressive daily phenomenon beheld by the observer of the heavenly bodies is the sudden appearance of light in darkness. Our breathing texts speak of the person awakening in the Book of Breathings, which is a later version of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Book of Breathings showed up in Ptolemaic times and existed past Christ's era. So, and I've got several copies of them all over the place here. Our breathing text speaks of the person awakening when he beholds the rays of the sun coming to life at the very moment when the sun rises and shines. Again, the light, the weapon shining on the place where he is. It is the dramatic first ray of sunlight penetrating the darkness that brings the new day and the new age. And that first ray necessarily strikes the highest point in the landscape. The Hopis, down in the desert southwest of the United States, believe their mesas are special because the sun strikes them when the rest of the desert lies in the deep shadow. Rekhmera, the Egyptian, felt the same way about his own mountain. I know that Karnak, the temple, is the mountain of light upon earth, he says, the venerable hill at the first beginning, the perfect eye of the Lord of all things, the gate of his beauty. The first Egyptian temple is the mound of the radiant one. So we get this image recurrent over and over and over again from all types of different literatures through all ages of antiquity. So the Jewish Gnostic treatise discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, the Apocalypse of Adam, features Adam speaking to his son Seth and saying that before he and Eve were thrown out of the Garden of Eden, they had gone about in a radiant and glowing condition. He says that when the descendants of Seth returns eventually from earth to the divine regions, they will all become clouds of great light. Remember, the word clouds might have originally said orbs in so much of the ancient literature, right? He also speaks a great deal in general about radiant clouds of glory. And this reminded me of Diane Pasulka's look into the Old Testament, where the word clouds has potentially been mistranslated. It should read orbs of light, not clouds. Now, in the Revelation of Adam, this is the scholarly text of the Gnostic scriptures by Bentley Leighton, one of the very finest texts on this subject. I want to just read here. Yes. After this, great angels will come in lofty clouds. Now, let's translate that. After this, great angels will come in great orbs of light. And there's your UFO. Angels that will take these people into the place in which the spirit of life dwells. And that was the whole theme of the Sirius mystery to the Egyptians, going back to the Sirius system from which all life came from. In our system, which is connected plasmically with plasma connections with our solar system and the Sirius star system. I'm not kidding. He's got the info here. So this is astonishing what we're discovering. Oh, and that's Bentley Leighton's idea. And then I also have this text on the Apocalypse of Adam. This is James H. Charlesworth, the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha. This particular one is volume 1. There's 2 volumes in the Apocalypse of Adam. And this is in the flood. And he's talking about afterward, great angels will come on high clouds to bring those men to the place where the spirit of life dwells. Then they will be like the cloud of great light. Again, the clouds, the universal clouds of plasma. The clouds of plasma is constantly in this book from a scientific side of things, and we're reading about the same principles in the ancient texts, in this case, the Apocalypse of Adam. Those men will come, the ones who were sent forth from the knowledge of the great aeons and the angels. They will stand in the presence of Noah and the aeons. And then Noah says, oh, yeah. He's talking to Noah, and he will bring him to a proper, holy dwelling place. And they will dwell 600 years in a knowledge of imperishability. And angels of the great light will dwell with them. Nothing abominable will be in their hearts with only the knowledge of God. Angels of great light will dwell with them. Orbs of light. So that's the apocalypse of Adam that he talks about. I've got the text, so I wanted to read to you from the texts. So, in the early Christian Gnostic text, discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, entitled Marseilles, the narrator says the third shape of the soul is spherical. There is considerable unanimity amongst many of the mystical texts of antiquity that man and higher entities alike have souls that are radiant and are glowing spheres. This is our plasma body. So I looked up the text of Marseilles. No, that's the Paraphrase of Shem. Hold on. I looked up the text of Marseilles, and this is in the Nag Hammadi Library by James M. Robinson. This is one of the very first, most complete translations of the Nag Hammadi texts after they were discovered. This is sensational. And in Marseilles, this is on page 466 if you have this. This is the hardcover. I don't know if it's similar to the paperback. I had the paperback at one time, but I don't know what happened with it. It had different information in the introductions. The shape of the soul is a spherical part. Yeah, the soul is spherical. So Temple got that right in this book, Marseilles. So now it's very interesting because men who become too attached to the earth cease to radiate light and they go dark, thus resembling the fallen angels who have become demons of darkness. Another Nag Hammadi Gnostic text, the Paraphrase of Shem. This is the one I was getting to. Now, this thing is chock full of descriptions of things like heavenly clouds of fire, garments of light, luminous spirits, images of light, the power of the restless fire, the light of spirit, the exalted infinite light, clouds of power, clouds of light, clouds of silence, which is a majestic fire, garments of fire, a power of fire and light, thought that comes from the light. And it says the righteous spark is the cloud of light that has shone in your midst. And on this particular Paraphrase of Shem, I get this from Willis Barnstone, another tremendous book, The Other Bible. These are the texts that did not make it into the biblical canon. And the Paraphrase of Shem is all about the conflict of light and darkness. Let me read just a couple of passages to give you the feel of this. And this goes on for page after page after page after page after page after page. What Derdachius revealed to me, Shem, according to the will of the Majesty, my mind, which was in my body, snatched me away from my race. So he's having an out-of-body experience. He is describing his out-of-body experience. It took me up to the top of the world, which is close to the light that shone upon the whole area there. I saw no earthly likeness, but there was light. The light was mind, full of attentiveness and reason. And Temple has shown the new science of plasma is intelligent and self-organizing, life-giving. Like I said, ontological shock. So he possessed the mind wrapped in a chaotic fire. And the spirit between them was gentle, humble, light. Our spirit is light, plasma. We do have a plasma body along with this physical body, according to Temple's book. He saw the infinite light. Here's another one. And when he stirred, the light of the Spirit appeared to him. Here's another one. And the exalted infinite light appeared, for he was very joyful. He wished, is that not the testimony of Barber in Colt Hart's documentary the other day? He said when he connected with that being, he felt joy, love, peace. It overwhelmed him. Yes, this is the same description. The exalted infinite light appeared, for he was very joyful. He wished to reveal himself to the Spirit, and the likeness of the exalted light appeared to the unbegotten Spirit. I appeared. I am the Son of the incorruptible infinite light. I appeared in the likeness of the Spirit, for I am the ray of the universal light. I am the array of the universal light, and that is absolutely exactly how Temple in this magnificent book describes the tens of millions of light years long plasma filaments that are in us also. Wow. So ideas such as the garments of light and fire seem as if they might allude to the presence of plasma in and around the human body, which we will return to in the final chapters of this book. One of the most famous and impressive of the Nag Hammadi text is the Apocryphon of John, and I've got a couple of translations of that I want to read from. This is dated to the early part of the 3rd century AD. It is full of descriptions of luminous clouds. Again, this clouds/orbs idea. Such a luminous cloud is mentioned in particular in the text's alternative story of Noah. The text says that the story of Noah on the ark is not as Moses wrote it down. Noah did not build an ark. It says he and other men went and hid in a light cloud. A luminous cloud, sorry. They went into a place and sheltered themselves within a luminous cloud. Now, the Apocryphon of John. I've got to get this for you. Hold on. I've got two texts, two among many, that I pulled out real quick. This is the Skylight Illuminations edition, the secret book of John, the Gnostic Gospel. It's annotated and explained. It's a very easy way to read the Gnostic secret book of John. Let me just read a couple of selections here so that you can get the feel for this. The one is infinite light, purity, holiness, stainless. The one is incomprehensible, perfectly free from corruption. Another one says, the one receives nothing from anything. It simply apprehends itself in its own perfect light. The one is majestic. And these tens of millions of long light years of beams of plasma that are millions of miles wide and billions of miles long just blow our minds. And he does discuss this. I'm not just inventing stuff. It's in his book. Here's another one in the Secret Gospel of John. The Father is surrounded by light. He apprehends himself in that light, which is the pure spring of the water of life, and plasma is the formation of our material world, which helps bring in life forms, according to Temple's book. So this description here is really interesting. which is the pure spring of the water of life that sustains all realms. And 99% of our universe is this life-sustaining plasma, according to this new book, A New Science of Heaven. I mean, they're both saying the same thing here. He is conscious of his image everywhere around him. Notice the intelligence. He's conscious. The plasma, I'm not just saying this to find a stupid parallel. He says the plasma is intelligently conscious, you guys. Perceiving his image in this spring of spirit pouring forth from himself, he is enamored of the image he sees in the light water, the spring of pure light water enveloping him. That is a beautiful description of the plasmoid universe. The entire universe is a gigantic plasmoid. Here's another one out of the secret book of John. Because she had created it without her masculine counterpart. Yeah, now this is the creation from the goddess who created before she was supposed to. She gave rise to a misshapen being unlike herself. Sophia saw what her desire produced. It changed into the form of a dragon with a lion's head and eyes flashing lightning bolts. That's our plasma. She cast him far from her, outside of the realm of the immortal beings, so that they could not see him. She had created him in ignorance. Now, this is the fall of Sophia. This is another angle in the secret gospel of John from the gospel of the Pistis Sophia, elsewhere in the Gnostic materials. She surrounded him with a brilliant cloud. Let's redo this. She surrounded him with a brilliant plasmoid. Put a throne in the center part of the cloud so that no one would see it, except for the Holy Spirit, called the Mother of the Living. Here's another one here real quick. I'll read. And they said, let us call Adam so that his name will give us the power of light. The power of the plasma that we call light has now scientifically been shown to be self-organizing. There is a power to it. And through the self-organizing principles involving the electromagnetism of the entire cosmos, which inhabits us also, we are electric beings without question. What this does is it helps create the power for life in light. Just what this says. It will give us the power of light. And now here's finally the Noah thing. They hid in a special place. Moses wrote it down wrong. They hid in a special place. Not just Noah, but also many other people from the immovable race. They went into hiding within a cloud of light. Noah knew his own authority, and that of the light being who illuminated them, although the chief ruler poured darkness over all of the world. Noah was saved in the orb of light, the cloud of light. Secret Gospel of John, fantastically interesting. Now, the way Karen King, now this is one of the most scholarly texts ever written on the secret revelation of John. Karen King, she is an exquisite Gnostic scholar. This is on page 229 on this theme of this. They hid in a cloud of light, which we can translate orb of light, according to Diane Pasolka's scholarship. Another prominent wisdom figure is the emissary of light, Epinoia. So she is sent down from the divine realm in this literature to aid Adam by bringing him life and knowledge, even as the wisdom of Solomon says, that wisdom protected, delivered, and strengthened Adam. Wisdom protected her first formed father of the world. When he alone had been created, she delivered him from his transgression and gave him strength to rule all things. That's in Wisdom chapter 10. She also shelters Noah, epinoia does, epinoia and wisdom, the light emissaries, shelter Noah, who, remember, was born glowing according to the Dead Sea Scroll, apocryphon of Genesis text. According to Joseph Fitzmyer, the translator of that text, Noah was a glowing baby when he was born, and his mother was accused of having an affair with one of the fallen watchers. So even this theme comes up, this light theme. She shelters Noah and the whole immovable race within a luminous cloud, even as wisdom saved Noah when the earth was flooded because of him. Wisdom again saved it, steering the righteous man by a paltry piece of wood. She is the knowledge of the light, who teaches humanity about the things of God. So too, wisdom makes instruction shine forth like light, like the Gihon at the time of vintage. She proclaims, I will again make instruction shine forth like the dawn, and I will make it shine afar. So this theme is very prominent, again, in several of these texts, just like Robert Temple is saying. Let's see what else he finds. Okay. The text speaks of angels as being lights, but it's not only good entities, but bad entities as well. Remember the transfiguration of Jesus in the New Testament. He was radiant in glory. The cloud came over him, and no one saw him. Is that a proper translation, or should it be the orb of light overcame him, and he entered the orb of light? That's very interesting. Remember also Pentecost in the New Testament, believe the book of Acts, where tongues of light appeared hovering over the heads of the apostles. These seem suggestive of plasma. So that's basically it, except I've got a couple other items I wanted to share with you that again show us, I've got a few more things I want to share, and then I'll wrap this up. Yes, now in this one, this is another book by Willis Barnstone, the Gnostic Bible, and in his book on the Secret of John, his image is in the spring of pure luminous water surrounding him. So the water is glowing. And she's the perfect power, the image of the perfect and invisible Virgin Spirit. She became the universal womb. That's a classic ancient myth of the mother goddess giving birth to the entire universe. Yeah. Oh, is there something else here I had? Nope, that was it. That's the Gospel of Thomas. Now, in his very excellent text, and this is another very erudite scholarly text by Marvin Meyer on the ancient mysteries. And this will, hold on. I've got one more idea of the Gnostics I want to share from Elaine Pagels. Yes. Now, Elaine Pagels wrote her classic text, the Gnostic Gospels, years ago, and it's still entirely relevant. It never did get much outdated. The Gospel of Thomas now in the Gnostic Library, perhaps the most famous Gnostic text of them all, relates that when the disciples asked Jesus where they should go, he said only, there is light within a man of light, and it lights up the whole world. If he does not shine, he is darkness. Far from legitimizing any institution of any kind, both sayings direct one instead to oneself, to one's inner capacity to find one's own direction to the light within. That is properly called gnosis. So that's enough of the Gnostic materials. Now, to get back to Marvin Meyer on the ancient mysteries, this is a tremendous book showing all the Eleusinian mysteries, the Egyptian mysteries, the Greek mysteries of Dionysus, the Greek mysteries of the mother and the daughter, the Roman mysteries of Mithras. And I want to share this because already among the ancient Indo-Iranian peoples, Mithras was known as a god of light, truth, and integrity. And we are so fortunate that we actually have in the, and this is Hans Dieter Betz, the Greek magical papyri. This is an astonishing 2-volume text. We actually have a Mithras liturgy that came down to us from antiquity. And this is astonishing. But the theme of this Mithras liturgy is to become one with the source of light and life. That symbol is the sun in the sky. And in the liturgy, he says, so when you see that the world above is clear and circling, and that none of the gods or angels is threatening you, expect to hear a great crash of thunder, and it will shock you. So again, say silence, silence. Say in your prayer, I am a star, wandering about with you and shining forth out of the deep. Immediately after you've said these things, the sun's disk will be expanded. And after you've said the second prayer, where there is silence, silence, and the accompanying words make a hissing, popping sound twice, you will see many 5-pronged stars coming forth from the disk and filling all of the air. And when the disk is open, you will see the fireless circle and the fiery doors shut tight. Bound together with your breath, the fiery bars of the fourfold root. And here is the prayer that they're praying. I won't share the Greek with you because it's kind of really weird. Sorry about all the crap and writing I've got on this, but I did a big research project on this. You can see what that is. Oh, firewalker. How do you pronounce that Greek word next to it? Light maker or encloser. Fire breather. Fire feeler. Light breather. Fire delighter. Beautiful light. Aeon. Light master. Fire body. Light giver, etc., etc. It's all about, and then it continues on the next page there. You've got fire sower, fire driver, light forcer, fire whirler, light mover, thunder shaker, glory light, light increaser, fire light maintainer, etc., etc., etc. He invokes the immortal names which have to do with light and fire and lightning and power, plasma, because only then can he become immortal and go live in the sun. Their ritual was to unite them with the source of light, the ultimate plasma ball, the sun. So that's just part of the Mithras liturgy. And finally, I can close out with a nod to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nothing wrong with quoting the Dead Sea Scrolls periodically, is there? This is a very excellent text that was put together by Dr. James H. Charlesworth, one of the greatest of Dead Sea Scroll scholars. John and the Dead Sea Scrolls. It has contributions by, it's like a who's who of Dead Sea Scrolls and biblical studies. Raymond Brown, James L. Price, A.R.C. Leaney, boy, he was good. Yaubert, James H. Charles, Gilles Crispell, Marie-Emile Boismard, William H. Brownlee. I mean, this is gigantic. So here's the idea. What he's doing is he's noting the common theme of light between the Dead Sea Scrolls, Holyoke Scroll, and the Gospel of John, and the writings of John, I should say, because he kind of puts them all together, the Gospel of John, and then 1, 2, and 3 John in the New Testament, right? So it is with 1 John 3, 7 through 10, and chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. This is a clearer statement of the cosmic aspect of what the scholars have now come to understand is Johannine dualism. And they'll explain this. Some while ago, Frank Cross observed that in both the rule of the Dead Sea Scrolls and 1 John, we recognize a similar spirit-spirit dualism, which allots some to God or the Spirit of truth, others to the devil or the spirit of deceit. In both, the diabolical spirit struggles against the children of God, called the children of light. In both, the children of light have knowledge, and this knowledge permits them to distinguish between the spirits of truth and deceit. But it's coming through the light, the plasma, because that's what light is. To do righteousness, but those under the dominion of the devil walk in the ways of darkness. Now, this finally gets me back to this final selection in this incredible book that I wanted to share with you. When Heaven Was Young. See, the Book of Changes, the I Ching. He also brings out the I Ching. Lao Tzu attributed bodiless form to what we now call plasma. The bodily form of energy is plasma. And plasmas precipitate matter, and that matter is also otherwise precipitated out of nothing. Creation of matter comes from speech in many ancient traditions. The Hebrew, the Old Testament. God said, and let there be light. Yehi order, vayhi or. The word, the logos in John 1 and 1, and by the logos, that is the word, by speech, logos can also mean speech, all things came into existence. So that's also part of it, but it's an intellectual, intelligent, conscious plasma light that is doing this. The universe is said to be created by Brahma, who is an all-embracing universal spirit of plasma. In ancient Egypt, the god Ptah was said to have created the world by his speech also. See, this is through all the old various cultures. I mean, it's everywhere. It says that his speech, the words, his speech is light. See, they took this very seriously. In the Book of Caverns, in one of the ancient Egyptian texts, is preserved in the chamber of the Osirian at Abydos, we read of the sun whose name is Re. Now, here's what the ancient Egyptian text says. This is long before the Old Testament Hebrews were in existence. Re speaks to them through his light. The ancient mystical concept of the Logos in Johannine Christianity also suggests that the Word of God was light. And the New Testament says, just straight out, God is light. It also just says straight out, God is love. So this is quite remarkable that we are all children of the plasma. That's his conclusion in this chapter. The Egyptians would say we are the progeny of Ta. The Christian view is that we are the children of God. The Jewish Dead Sea Scrolls view is that we are the sons of light. A Hindu might say we are all the creation of the great universal spirit, Brahma. It's just so fascinating how from undifferentiated chaos, as the ancient Egyptians would say, the goddess Nut, who is depicted as the great cosmic sea. Notice the cosmos is feminine, symbolized by the goddess Nut, and the Torah of the Old Testament speak of the waters, are all effectively saying the same thing. On this view, all physical matter did indeed emerge from the vast universal sea of plasma. And I skipped, because it's much more long and drawn out, I skipped his analysis of Aristotle in this chapter. I'm here to tell you, I'm in ontological shock at the power of this book. And that's only one chapter. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book. I'll finish it tonight, and then I'll do another video tomorrow. But yeah, don't tell me I didn't warn you. I'm going to uncork it. This stuff just, for me, this is why I love to live and breathe and eat and drink good fluids. Because learning these ancient mysteries and coming to recognize that the modern science is discovering the ancient mysteries, and all of these people already knew this, and they already had their experiences with the UFOs as light orbs, just like we are having now, thousands of years later, and it's the same thing. And these are beings of intelligence and love and joy. I'll tell you what, I don't know how it can get better than that. So thanks for watching my Backyard Professor videos. I will be back as I find more, which I am constantly doing nonstop every day, which is my great pleasure. And I do appreciate your support and your coming on this fantastic light journey with me through understanding our anomalies and mysteries of our lives today. There are answers. And they are extremely interesting too. So, all righty, I will catch up to you just as soon as I can, you guys.